Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Steve. I'm definitely an alcoholic. You're not allowed to say no in AA. That's the rule that Glenn and I grew up in. So, anyway, Glenn and I met, um, believe it or not, when the basement rooms were not air conditioned and when the rooms were smoke filled, because everybody smoked in AA 150 years ago or whatever. We did have running water, but so we go back a long way. Anyway, where do I even begin? I absolutely am not an alcoholic. There is no way that I can be an alcoholic. That's the stupidest thing anybody ever told me. I don't understand it. I don't know what happened. I came from a warm, loving, wonderful family. I've done everything successful in my whole life. Um, I excelled in academics and sports, and I married the right woman, and I had from the right family, and I had the right two children, two boys, and I became a dentist, and I did this, and I whatever, and there was never any alcohol in my family, ever, ever. Anyway, I what happened was I graduated from dental school at the height of the Vietnam War, and I just did what every immigrant family did. We were so absolutely thrilled to be in America, where my grandparents couldn't even read or write any English, and my father was the first one to go to college, and I was the first one to go to postgraduate. And I joined the Air Force with my wife, who was very pregnant at the time, and I was commissioned. I was stationed at a Air Force fighter interceptor base in Michigan, 1966. And, I, all through the years of doing so well, I had this absolute feeling of insecurity. I was nervous. I wasn't as good as they were. I was a child amongst adults. I better not make a mistake. I have to blame others if something on and on and on. Anyway, that was part of me, and I never said anything. And I was stationed at this base for a week, and they told us that all the officers had to be at the officers club on Friday after the fighter wing did their stuff before they went to Vietnam. And I walked into the officers club in 1966, not even understanding that my life was now going to change forever, forever. I walked into a room which was a bar with about 75 of America's toughest fighter pilots and the co-pilots, and the guns were on the side against the wall, and there was sawdust on the ground, and the Bee Gees was blasting away, and there was a long 50-foot wooden bar there. I was 24 years old. I had never been in a bar before in my whole life. I never drank. I had maybe a beer at fraternity parties. I hated it. I once sipped my father's um, drink, and I thought it was disgusting. Anyway, I got on this line, and all of a sudden, here I was at the front of the line, and this bartender, he said, "Captain Morris, what would you like to drink?" And I had no idea what to order. I never drank before. And of course, I remember so vividly, even though it was so long ago, that I just said, "I'll have what Colonel Jack Daniels, in front of me once." I thought that was his name. I didn't understand that that was the name of a drink. And they handed me this thing, and I walked away, and I felt so insecure. Everybody there was so much better than I was, and tougher and whatever. And I looked at it, and how do you drink a drink? And I did what John Wayne did, or I did what on the movies, I gulped it down, and it was the most horrendous thing I had ever tasted in my entire life. It burned the shit out. Oh, it was horrible. It was just disgusting. I'm never going to do that again. But a minute went by, and then 2 minutes went by, and all of a sudden I became taller and handsomer and smarter and tougher. All of a sudden I fit in. All of a sudden I was better than these guys. It was all men in those years. I found it. I found this thing that got rid of all my anxiety. I became a tough guy. I became what I always wanted to be. It was fantastic. I drank every night for the next 20 years. And all of you, every single one of you knows what happened. You know what happens. I don't have to tell any of you about that. 3 weeks later, my wife went into labor for our first child. And since I was on staff at the hospital, it was 8 o'clock at night. I drove her back to the base and we got her into the OBGYN, obstetric thing. And the nurse said, "Oh, Dr. Morris, go home. It's going to be a while. Your wife is this, it's the first child." And I went back to my house, leaving her there. And I did what I had done every single night for the last 3 weeks. I poured myself Jack Daniels on the rocks with a twist of lemon. Maybe I should have two. I was nervous. And the next thing I remember was the phone rang. "Dr. Morris, Captain Morris, where are you?" It was 8 o'clock the next morning. And I missed the birth of my first son because I was a full-blown alcoholic who put my drinks ahead of everything. Everything. I think of all the bad things that the steps taught me, all the horrible things I did in my 20-year drinking career. My wife will never, ever forget that I left a 22-year-old beautiful little girl alone in a hospital. Jack Daniels won. Jack Daniels won. I'm not going to even tell you this stuff, this AA drunkalog. You all know that. But I'll just skip all the way to my last drink. I was 48 years old, and you know what your life. I'm not telling you anything you guys and women don't know. I don't know. My life I was at the height of my game professionally and all this stuff, but I was a typical alcoholic. And I drove to my office, was 5 miles from my home in Great Neck and in Long Island. And I drove by this beautiful, beautiful tree. And out of nowhere, I thought to myself, if life gets worse, I'm going to take off my seatbelt, put it in cruise control, and I was going to take my life. I couldn't stand it anymore. You know what it's like. Everyone in this room knows what it's like. That feeling of your bottom. We called it your bottom. But it scared the hell out of me. Where did that come from? Suicide? That's absolutely crazy. And for the first time, well, not really. We went through, as every alcoholic family goes through, because it's her fault, not mine. And we went to every marriage counselor on Long Island. But I got the name and I went to a therapist. And after 45 minutes, this young jackass, he said to me, "You're not crazy. You're an alcoholic. You have to stop drinking. You have to go to AA. Don't make another appointment until you do that." So I fired the bastard because that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. That was on a Friday afternoon. And he said, "Oh, by the way, you need an intervention. Gather up everybody and tell them what's going on." And Sunday we had an intervention. My wife, my lawyer, my accountant, and they were all there. And I had to say, "We're broke. I'm at the end. I give up." And I know rehabs in those years. That was 35 years ago. No rehabs. I didn't know any. And I walked into Manhasset Group on Monday night in Long Island, and I haven't had a drink since then. It's like, don't ask me. No, what? Please, I have no idea what happened. No idea what happened. I just stopped drinking. And all I go to is these stupid meetings, and I listen to what you guys. I'm so much smarter than all of you guys, including you, Glenn. I'm really a lot smarter than you are. But yeah, people who I listened to you guys for 35 years, and it's such a simple thing. Just don't drink today and go to. That's what you told me 100 years ago. That's what all the boys from Manhasset and Fort Washington told me. Just don't drink today and go to a meeting. Bingo. That's it. Well, what about this and what about that? And they go, "Oh, that'll just make it all easier for you." But the bottom line is the only thing you have to do perfectly is don't drink today. Go to a meeting, and that's it. And I've been doing that forever. I want to that's it. That's my story. I haven't had a drink since then. And I want to skip now to give you a little thing of what's going on in my life. Be 83 years old in a couple of months. I'm an old fart, and it's like ridiculous. I thought my plan originally was I would stop drink. I came into Manhasset on a Monday. I would stop drinking till Friday, till Saturday morning, so we could go out and party on. And when that came around, I went to the Promises meeting in Port Washington, and I don't know, my first sober Saturday night. But then I figured my plan. Every drunk has a plan. I learned that. So my plan then was to get to be 65. I'd retire, make a lot of money, and I could drink again. That was my plan. And here I am, going to be 83. I don't want to drink. I just don't want to drink because I don't know. I must never forget how bad it was, that suicide tree. I must never ever forget that I don't know why I lost everything. I almost did. My wife eventually stayed with me, the kids, everything. And but I almost, and you know, they said I can't. The stupidest thing you guys ever said was you can't have the first drink. That is ridiculous. That's one of the stupidest things I ever heard. I could have like three and I'd be fine. But you sort of convinced me that it was number one that did it. Anyway, I want to just finish up and tell you, I was 79 years old, sober, having a great life, retired, living in Nashville, Tennessee now, and grandkids, having a great time, and meetings and all that stuff. And I go in for my checkup, and my doctor here said, I don't know how to tell you this. I had nothing wrong with me, but you're going to be dead in 6 months. Make your plans. I go, what are you talking about? He said, well, you have multiple myeloma and plasma cell leukemia. You don't even know you have it. You're too old for treatment. We never did a transplant and chemo on someone who was 80. And my wife started crying. She was there at the consult. I didn't. I started carrying on a bit, and I fired the bastard. Basically, he was a pretty famous guy here in Nashville, and my wife and I walked out. I fired him on the spot, and we started the journey. He was right about the cancer. He was right that I had a rare, deadly form of cancer. He was right that they had no experience doing a transplant, bone marrow transplant on an 80-year-old. What are you, crazy? I don't know. Medicare cover it? I have no idea. And thank God, my wife, who's a black belt in Al-Anon, and she's the only one doesn't put up with my nonsense. Thank God. And we researched. And I started the chemo right away. You don't tell a New York City guy or a Tennessee volunteer, no, don't even think about doing that. And 8 months later, I had the bone marrow. I was the oldest person in the United States to have a stem cell bone marrow transplant at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. And when my friends, you guys from New York, or my friends from LA, what are you, crazy? These guys are hillbillies there. I mean, University of Alabama. Well, we researched, and they were the number one transplant for multiple myeloma in the world, probably. And we stayed there for a couple of months, and we had it done. And I walked at the end of the transplant, and they told me everything was great, and it looked like everything worked, and they roll you out of the transplant unit. And here I passed this mirror. I was pissed at God. I was pissed at AA. You can go screw yourself. Look, I mean, is this what you did to me for 30-something years of sobriety and meetings and God and steps and all that bullshit? And I looked at a mirror as they rolled me out in a wheelchair, and I was bald as can be from the chemo. And I had lost, what a chemo patient looks like. Well, I lost like a lot, that look and that coloring. And I said, as I passed that, God, I'm giving you one more chance. One more chance. This is it. This is it. I want you to send me a sign why you gave me this cancer, and you put me probably in remission, at least temporarily. and tell me what you want me to do. And I went home and I listened to you guys. Glenn, I even listen to you once in a while and remember, not too often because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. But um, everybody says apply the principles of the program in all your affairs. That's what you heard that 35 years ago. 100, what are the principles of the program in all my affairs? Is that cancer? And I started telling everybody about my experiences. They all knew about the alcoholism because I was so active in AA, but I told them about the cancer and don't ever give up and put your trust in God. And anyway, 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm in the bathroom brushing my teeth, and I see my hair is growing back. It usually takes 6 months to a year to grow back, and my hair was growing back. And I'm going, now this is not melodramatic, guys. I'm not a holy roller, even though I'm in the center of Christian fundamentalists here in Tennessee. But is that a sign that I'm on the right path? Because phone calls, texts, emails started rolling in. My wife got cancer. My son got cancer. What shall I go? Who shall I see? And again, I am totally convinced that God made me an alcoholic. God got me to AA. God got me sober. God gave me this terrible disease because he wants me to do what I did for AA for all the years. I want to reach out and help other cancer patients in and out of the rooms, doesn't matter. And I'm leading a life now. I'm in remission. My disease will come back. They all tell me that because it's so rare and aggressive. But in and out of the rooms, I'm leading a life now that I can't believe. I'm supposed to be in Boca Raton. I'm supposed to be in Boca. That's where on the beach, someplace in this world. And here I am in Nashville, Tennessee, with two of our grandkids and whatever. And all I know is I have something going on now, reaching out and helping other cancer and AA people. We started 2 years ago an AA group only for cancer patients, Zoom. And a friend of mine from Miami started it, and I joined in a little bit. And after 2 months, 3 months, we got 50 people on Zoom called in from all over the world, practically. People from London are calling. It's only for cancer patients in AA. So we made a second meeting, and we got 50 more. And then we made a third meeting, and we got 50 more, and we extended it to an hour and a half. And we're doing a service for AA people who have or had cancer beyond anything I've ever done in my whole life. Staying sober and handling. We have people there who are in hospice, who are dying, who will die. There are people there who are just diagnosed. They don't know what to do. They come in crying on our meeting, and we surround them with the love that AA does. And that's what AA did for me. I don't want to play golf. I don't want to boat. I don't want to travel. I'm getting more like satisfaction reaching out and helping other AAers with cancer or cancer patients than I've ever done before. And I'm sober today. So it's early, Glenn. I could pick up later. You know that. I mean, hell with it. I have a choice today, pick up or not pick up. And I'll just tell you one thing. I go for what's called preventative chemo. Preventative chemo is supposed to keep the disease away, not coming back. Once a month, they hook me up to an IV, and I have 5 hours of this crap poisons that go into you, and I sit there. And our hospital, our cancer hospital here, has got a big room, and there were like 15 patients in one big room, all hooked up to their IV crap. And next to me was this beautiful, I mean, I love women. I'm old, but I'm not dead. Here I am. She was 31 years old, is 31 years old. She has cancer, and she was having her IV, and she was crying. And I did what you guys would have done. Anybody in or out, well, let's say in AA would have. I turned to her and I said, "Hey, I'm Steve. Remember this from the first meeting?" People came over to me. How do they know it's my first meeting? Yeah, right. I said, I'm Steve Morris. I know that you must be in a lot of pain. She said, it's horrible. I know. I've been there. I know what this incredible pain is like. Um, I go, here's my phone number. This is like AA, you know? They think I'm a genius, by the way. Everything in cancer stuff, they think I'm like the smartest guy in the world. You need a cancer sponsor. I mean, it's all bullshit. You guys taught me everything. This is just AA. I just repeat what you guys. Walter used to say. He used to say back home. He used to say the next original message I think of will be my first. You know, it's like I'm just repeating. And this woman, this girl, this beautiful 31-year-old girl, talked to me for 2 hours while we got our chemo, and she stopped crying after a while. You know, and it was like amazing. So apply the principles of AA to the rest of your life. I want to just finish by telling you one thing. I was in my chemo, and no, I was in my transplant center. I was having my transplant and hooked up to all that stuff. It was 2 in the morning, and it was pretty bad. But so this woman comes in, a nurse, to see what's going on. It's very serious. The transplant unit is isolated, and it's not fun and games. And she says, "I see you're listening to music. What are you listening to?" And I go, "I'm not listening to music." She goes, "Well, what do you got the earphones on?" I said, "Well, I'm a recovering alcoholic and I'm in an AA meeting." She said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I'm at an AA meeting. I'm in a Zoom AA meeting," whichever meeting it was. And she said, "I don't believe it." And I never saw that. She said, "I'm doing this for 30 years. And then she said the following: "Can I talk to you?" And I said, "Sure, sit down at my bedside while I'm getting the IV crap." And she said, you know what she said. Everyone in and out of Al-Anon knows what she said. "My son has a problem with blah, 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 blah. I'm hysterical. I don't know what to do. I'm a this and that." And we talked for an hour. And I gave her the Al-Anon stuff, and I gave her my phone number for her son, only if he wants to call. I did the stuff to reach out and help, man. So what turns out to be bad turns out to be a blessing for me, because alcoholism and cancer taught me to live one day at a time. They taught me that treat today as if it were my last. It taught me that to stay normal, I have to reach out and help other cancer patients, other alcoholics. I have to do that every single day of my life. And above all else, to count my blessings, no matter what, to count my blessings. Now, here in Tennessee, we have, I don't know what you want me to do, just end it, or I'd love to, if we have any time at all, I would just love to hear. And if you need a little topic, I want to hear what things in your life this week that you handled sober, and how would you have handled that thing when you were drinking or active, the difference. And I can't thank you enough, Glenn, for inviting me. And it's certainly, again, everybody, just listen to what I said and do the opposite, and maybe you'll stay sober. I don't know. Thank y'all.